Hi, I'm Jonah Manthi. The article I read is called "The US and UK Launch Fresh Strikes on Houthis in Yemen." It was published on the 24th of January this year. Um, Here's the deal. The Houthis are a uh, group in Yemen that uh, they are very anti-Israel and the US. That is part of their slogan: "Death to Israel, death to the US." Um, they have been attacking uh, any merchant ships that pass by the Red Sea or pass through the Red Sea that are related to Israel. Um, they have been doing this since mid-November, and they are still doing this. The more recent development is that the US and the UK have been sending airstrikes to Yemen and targeting Houthi targets. Here's a few quotes I have from the article. The first one being, the UK Defence Secretary Grant Shapps described the strikes as self-defense against the Houthis' intolerable attacks on merchant shipping. There was also a statement from the Pentagon included, saying that the Pentagon said, our aim remains to de-escalate tensions and restore stability in the Red Sea, but let us reiterate our warning to Houthi leadership. We will not hesitate to defend lives and the free flow of commerce in one of the world's most critical waterways in the face of continued threats. I think it's also worth noting that the Red Sea is incredibly important commercially. There is a lot of merchant ships that pass through there. Another quote I have is, quote, "Yet the Houthis, who are supplied, trained, and advised by Iran, are clearly bent on continuing their attacks on shipping they suspect of being linked to Israel, the US, or the UK." So despite these airstrikes on the Houthis, they are going to keep continuing this form of almost sort of a protest of what Israel is doing to Palestine, because they have stated, sorry, that they are part of a Axis resistance in the Middle East that is supporting Palestine and um, very, very against Israel and what Israel is doing. So the reason I believe that this case study is so important is that, well, firstly, I noticed that I call this crude, but I feel like there's a similarity between the relationship of Israel and Palestine and the U.S. and Yemen. That being that um, Israel and the U.S. are both larger, imperialist, powerful countries that are continually attacking a smaller, impoverished nation uh, for what they deemed to be a terrorist attack from a uh, group from that smaller country. That being, um, oh, and the smaller countries, of course, being Palestine and Yemen, if you can really call Palestine a country, but I'm calling it a country because that is out of my respect to Palestine. Um, and those resistance groups being Hamas and the Houthis. Generally, though, I think it's important because uh, it shows that these countries around the world are willing to do, bomb other countries or attack merchant ships because of what is going on in Israel and Palestine, um, which I think uh, I think this points to a possible uh, larger scale, like possibly a world war. I don't know when these sort of things escalate. Like, I don't know where you draw the line between just a war and a world war. Um, but I think that's a definite possibility. And that also goes into why I think this is relevant to politics, because our job as political scientists is to predict what's going to happen based on current trends and past trends and how things change over time. And I think it's very, very likely, based on how this is escalating, that it continues into a larger scale war, especially because there's so many similarities between this and World War II. As I mentioned, the Axis resistance sounds eerily familiar to the Axis powers of World War II. My personal opinion on this, I'm going to keep it brief because I have a lot of opinions, but The Pentagon stated that they are defending lives. I don't believe that's true. I believe that if you were defending lives, you wouldn't be supporting genocide and um, bombing one of the most impoverished nations in the world, and one of Yemen being uh, one of the nations that's said to have the worst humanitarian crisis. Um, Again, keeping it short, I'm standing with the Houthis on this one. Uh, I am viewing this sort of as a form of protest, and I think that disrupting the commercial flow of a country that's committing genocide is commendable. My questions are: do you think this will escalate into a world war? And secondly, what do you believe the real priorities of the US and the UK are? Defending peace or defending capitalism?